we're gonna be in a hallway so that we can show on both sides both a story about these early families that came to the Nehalem Valley, and also to show a photographic history of these people and what they looked like and where they came from. So here you can see some of the early families, and these names are still recognizable in this community today. When you come here, people always talk about the Reed family and the Nehalem Tavern. And here's a picture of them on the steps. It's a large family. You can see little babies in the photograph, and some of the older generations still there. The picture of the Nielsen family shows them in a home that was in Nehalem, and this is, of course, a more it's a residence that's made for living in as opposed to hosting other people. So it gives you a better flavor of how people used to live in this area. We felt it was important to add the Adams family. And the Adams family would be Native Americans. They were Nehalems. And Ilga Adams was actually one of the signers for the treaty that was originally signed by the Nehalems in 1851. These are daughters and granddaughters of Ilgas in this picture, and this was in approximately 1890. These women came forward in the community, and over the years were leaders in an area known as Hobsonville, and so they have a real significant portion to our history here. Also, we have the Scovilles, and of course, there's a certain part of this where white settlers and pioneer families ended up intermarrying with Indian settlers, and so the Scovilles are an important settler family, but also Joe Scoville became one of the leaders of a group that's now known as the Confederated Tribes of the Clatsop Nehalem. We have a depiction of the Scovilles and the Alleys and the Grays. They have family association with the Easoms. Here's the Tolls. You can come to the area and still see Toll Road. The Toll family operated a general store in Nehalem. These are all families for whom you wander around our community, you'll run into something that tells you, oh, I know about them. They're here in the museum. Transitioning now to the advent of homesteaders in the Nehalem Valley, one of the things that we wanted to exhibit was the way that housing and dwellings were developed, going from what was the type of dwelling that Native Americans lived in, and going on to show the progression of how homesteaders lived. So the longhouses that were built by the Nehalems were plank houses. They were long houses where multiple families would live. They were made with gabled roofs, usually dug down a little bit into the earth, and with an opening in the top to allow the smoke to come out. When you come to depictions of the first settlers living in the area, you see the same kind of construction. You see roughly hewn planks used to build houses with gabled roofs, where they were able to construct some type of a fireplace inside the dwelling, housing maybe one family, maybe multiple families, so that they could accommodate the people that were there. But as the years go by, people brought machinery into the area, and they were able to craft more finished lumber. And so you see that the newer houses then include finished buildings. You see that they have fences. They do all sorts of other things to make their homes in the West look more like the homes that they left when they were in the East. problem, of course, was that the Nehalem River and the Nehalem Bay is not a real easily navigable body of water. And so the real blossoming of the Nehalem Valley occurs when the railroad comes. When the railroad comes, there's a huge amount of industry and development that evolves around the timber industry. And the three villages really start to be developed first at Nehalem and at Wheeler, Brighton, as places where these milled timbers could be processed and put on a flat car and sent to places where they were really marketable. And that's how these villages developed. Here's a picture of the Janita. The Janita was a ferry that traveled from Wheeler to Nehalem and back again. And the reason that we love this, aside from just it's such a nice depiction, is that you see the progress that took place. As we looked before, we saw a bunch of rough-looking loggers and fishermen who would work their day and come home and fall asleep, have their meal, and go on to work the next day. This depiction shows people in their Sunday best. These people have their own finery. There's something more to life to them than just going into the woods or out on the bay and trying to craft a living. These people have achieved a certain level of affluence.